Welcome, everyone, to episode 20 of our podcast. I wanted to discuss a topic around some content I recently made on my Instagram. It was just a 90-second clip about male energy and what makes a man attractive. And I had so many questions about it that I wanted to expand upon this whole idea of male and female energies, light and vessel, and approach it from many different directions. But this podcast especially, I feel, will be helpful for any man who listens to it to understand his spiritual purpose, how to shine his light, and also how to open the gates of miracles, especially in the realm of their career or their channel of abundance, but also as they navigate finding a soulmate or being in a relationship, and as well, just how they show up in the world for their soul's purpose. So one of the ways I thought to approach this is I like to take practical real-life examples and then combine them with what the great sages and the great Kabbalists share to be the spiritual backbone of how to solve some of these issues. Number one, it's really powerful to understand that we came to this world, every soul, as a female energy, as a vessel. So the vessel equals the female. And when a soul came down to this world, it came to receive what's called the light of the Creator. Technically, this makes all of us, men and women, female in our essence. We are here to receive. The word Kabbalah means lekabel, to receive. This is the whole purpose of creation. The purpose is that you will be happy. The purpose is that you will be endlessly connected to this energy from the upper worlds that's flowing through you all the time and creating for you a world and a life of miracles, of fulfillment, of love, of peace of mind, of certainty, of health, and this feeling of wholeness. This is really our purpose. Even though the world looks dark, and even though it looks like there's so much chaos and so many people having so many problems, this is not the norm, nor is it meant to be the norm. This is simply a moment in time that can change in the blink of an eye to become a miraculous reality. And we have this power, and you must know with certainty that at any moment you decide to change your consciousness to access the light of the Creator, the darkness can go away. So we are created as vessels, but if you've taken Kabbalah 1, which I hope you have if you want to understand deeper our soul's journey, we came as vessels to receive light, but how do we receive light? By acting like the light, acting like the male energy, so to speak. We learn what the qualities of the Creator are, and we strive to mimic these qualities. And so the process that we all go through as we study Kabbalah is, how do I become like God? And one of the things I thought that could be powerful is I actually just went to ChatGPT and I wrote a prompt. What are men struggling with today? Whatever it wrote, I haven't even read it. I'm going to read live to you and explain a spiritual explanation or conversation around some of these topics. Number one, men are struggling with their identity and their purpose. So let's solve that right now by sharing what the sages have shared for thousands of years. What is the purpose for a man in this world? It is to become a channel of light, to become the giving force. Well, what does that mean? Each man must discern in his way how he is a giver in this world. The most obvious is the way he generates income. We feel this inner drive to provide, to give energy via a career. And so this is important. And spiritually, it is important that every man has a purpose of the way he brings light to the world. 99% of the time, that will also result in the way you bring income to the world, but not always. I know for the first 10 years of my life, from the age of 19 to 29, as I did this work of bringing Kabbalah to the world, I did not have an income. I was not paid for this. So technically, you would think, being physically broke, that I was not channeling energy, but I was doing spiritual work. I was teaching. I was meeting students. So there was a transfer of energy that was happening and something that hopefully was being revealed in the world. So it didn't necessarily mean that I had to bring income, but it did mean that I was responsible for bringing or being a channel of light, however I could, to other people. It could be that you are a father. A father is a channel of light. If he's taking the time to really connect and care for his children. And actually, this should be our consciousness as we have children. When you're sitting with your children, and obviously the more focused you are, to the extent that you are a channel, if you are distracted, if your head is somewhere else, if you're angry or upset, the gates are closed. And so your children do not feel your light. Your children at that moment become the female energy because they are the vessel. They receive your light as a father. They do not feel your energy. You might physically be there, but you are not spiritually there, to whatever extent that can be. So part of our spiritual work, our identity and purpose, if we are fathers, is to be a channel of light as a father, not just to have the label of a father. What are all the other ways that we channel light in this world? It can be as a friend. It can be as a member of the community. Do you preserve your community? Do you preserve your local place of worship? Are you a giver? When you go to an event or when you go to a party, are you a giver? Or do you go into a room looking how to take? Every man begins to feel shame as soon as he starts to become a taker. And men struggle in our generation more than ever with shame. What's the problem with pornography? People say pornography creates shame. Often, the explanation is because of the sexual nature of it. It is not that. It is probably psychologically that. But the shame comes from pornography being one of the greatest revelations of energy, because there are two ways in this world to reveal great light. And they both come from the creation of life or the sustaining of life. And they are actually the two areas that people have the most difficulty with. Sexual energy, because the sexual organ represents the generation of life. That's how you create a new soul. It has so much atomic energy that when you take from this energy, as opposed to a more balanced form of receiving when there's circuitry, so pornography would be the taking of this energy. It is like a shock to the system. It is an overflow to the soul. It is like shooting 10,000 watts of energy into a 60-watt bulb, and this causes shame, also known as the bread of shame that we've learned in Kabbalah 1, that feeling that I have received something that I do not have a vessel for, nor have I earned. So every time a man goes into that mode of how do I take energy, he disconnects from his purpose, he loses his identity, he begins to feel shame, and then that's how the spiral occurs. And because there is shame, there is lack, and there is fear, there is judgment, there's self-judgment, and then we look for other ways to take. We take from the validation of other people. We take through substance abuse. We take through needing to shut down or escape. We take through abuse. We abuse others, or we control others, or we put other people down to feel more powerful. All of this is a cycle of from the beginning not having chosen to be a channel of light. A simple exercise for all of us to do. And I put myself in this bucket. I am not in any way better or different than all the men I'm talking to. And obviously, the female energy that is listening to this is, in order to know how to support, in order to know how to empathize, in order to know how to give that communal love and certainty, which every man needs. Every man needs someone to believe in him, to become this channel. Something I always try to do is I just ask myself the question, am I giving or am I taking? This is the question. Am I giving or am I taking? Every decision you make, Are you trying to give energy or are you trying to take energy? And it becomes very difficult later on when sometimes it looks like you're giving, but you're actually taking. A good example of this is there are times when there are people in our lives who are going through something and have a problem or have pain that they're going through. And they share that pain with you. They share the problem with you. They share the circumstances that they are in. And we want to offer advice to solve the problem. We want to give. But the issue here is when you're not sensitive to exactly what the vessel needs at that moment, and you just give because you think that's what they need, this becomes taking. It's the equivalent of the nice old lady at the corner, and you keep trying to help her cross the street because you want to be supportive. And then she tells you, but I'm waiting for the bus. You trying to push her or guide her across the street is of no avail because this is not her desire. And so many times we have so much energy we want to give, but we're not feeling what the vessel needs in order to actually heal. Often, more times than not, giving in any relationship is listening. Is listening, meditating, and praying for the other person. 9 out of 10 times I have seen when somebody shares a problem, instead of sharing a solution, which by the way, we have Kabbalah, right? We have solutions galore. There are so many things we can say and smart things we can say. And this is what this Kabbalist said. And we can quote that Kabbalist. And yes, and sometimes we need to do that. But the first question is, when they are talking, you must feel and ask the Creator, is this now a time to listen? Is that what giving is? Or is this now a time to actually share something? And this is how you become a channel. There's all these books. What do women want? What do men want? How to talk to women, how to talk to men. The truth is, none of us really know how to talk to anybody. Only the Creator knows what needs to be said and when. And sometimes something needs to be said that makes no sense in the moment, but will make sense later on. And only the Creator knows that that needed to happen. So this is why one of the greatest things we can do as men, before we walk into a room, before we start a conversation, before we initiate anything in this world, is to stop, to pause, and to pray. Ask the Creator, how can I be a giver? Show me, guide me, surrender the ego, surrender what you think is right, surrender the agenda that you came into the room with, because this is always coming from the soul's tikkun, from the negativity that the soul came into. That's always the default desire of every man when he walks into a situation. It's not his soul, it's his body guiding the way. So you must pause and shut down the body consciousness, shut down what we call the ego, which is that part of us that just thinks we know what we're doing and what we're doing is right, and ask the Creator. There's no other way to bypass the ego besides talking to the Creator and asking. Because the ego is powerful. It's always going to be there. It's not about getting rid of your ego. It's about opening up another gate of something more powerful, which is the Creator to guide you. This is often why a man will go through a lot of pain, or a man will come home and be spoken to in a way that he doesn't like, or someone's going to put you down, or you lose a business deal, or you go through rejection, something happens to you. Why does chaos happen to a man? Only for one reason, because he believed too much in his own intellect of how to solve a problem, and as a result, veered farther away from being a true giver into being a taker. So what does pain and suffering do? It breaks you. It breaks the part of you that you think you know. I had somebody reach out to me recently who I known many, many, many years ago. And when he was studying Kabbalah, because Kabbalah softens the ego, Kabbalah helps bypass the ego, because when you feel the light, when you listen to this wisdom of the sages, when you listen and you read these holy books, like there's energy that comes through and it diminishes who you are. You realize there's something so much more powerful, something bigger, and you realize how small you are. And then you become a channel. It's such a powerful thing just by studying. I tell people at least once a day, listen to 5 minutes of something Kabbalistic, something spiritual, something that, and you know it's light when you feel like there's something so much bigger than you and you desire to connect to it. That's how you know it's light. That's how you know it's light. And so during the time that he was studying regularly, the study itself helped cleanse. The study itself helped him be a channel, showed him the way, showed him how to be with his children, how to be with his wife, how to be a better boss, how to be a better executive. It does. Kabbalah shows us, because to be like the lights, it's the same in any seat you sit in. But after 10 years went by, and people, we get lost, we get taken by life. We move on to different things, we move to different states or countries. And spirituality becomes that thing that was a very nice thing that we did, but I have other responsibilities now. But the problem is, when we're not constantly on this path of learning and connecting, we're then forcing the universe to teach us lessons, as opposed to learning them mercifully through wisdom. And so whatever he went through in life, which was very difficult, broke him to the point that he remembered the days where the miracles were because he studied, because he learned. So that's a second thing that I want to share, which is we all need to be broken, but there's 2 ways to break ourselves. Either to wait for things to be taken away, either to wait for the universe to reject us, or to go through so much of a grind that we feel like we have nothing left, and then we ask for help, or we can learn and connect and spend time with other souls who are on the same path. And this creates humility by itself. For some people, it's very hard for them to be around other people who are more spiritual than them, other people who are more successful than them, but that is very powerful. You should always spend time with people who are more successful, because it humbles you. If everywhere you go, if every friend group you have, if every person you date is someone who is less than you, and you do not have a worthy opponent everywhere you go, then you are forcing the universe to humble you in other ways. So choose a community. Choose to connect to spiritual wisdom. Choose to do those things that may not make you feel immediately that you're the greatest in the room, but what it's doing is it's opening up a channel that the Creator comes in, that you now will be the greatest in the room. That's the irony. And it keeps coming to me, like whenever we go into any store, any restaurant, any event, someone is listening to this, you're about to go to an event. You're maybe driving to work right now. You're driving to work. To do what? To get a paycheck? To just do something and get the hell out of there? That's taking. I know when an employee is coming for the paycheck, it means they're taking. If someone is coming to truly give and the paycheck is just the bonus, this is the consciousness that creates miracles in a business. And the people who everywhere they go, they see miracles. Like there are certain people, it's like everything opens up for them. I was at an event and one of my friends says, I want you to meet someone. I said, okay, who is he? He's like, he is a walking blessing. I said, what does that mean? Everything he does works out. You just need to be around him. Just spend time with him, because literally every investment, every job, every place he goes, something opens up. We call this luck. In Hebrew, in the Kabbalistic language, it's called mazal. There are people who have mazal. It's like no matter what they do, it works out for them. But actually, the Kabbalists say it's not luck. That's a false translation. There are 2 types of people. People with mazal and people with zchut, with merit. What does that mean? If something is naturally easy for you and you have blessings and miracles wherever you go, either it's something you carried from a past life that you already transformed, you already broke through, you already went from a taker to a natural giver and it became this natural thing for you, or Schut, you actually broke it in this lifetime. That's why the miracle is there. People are wealthy for only one of two reasons. They broke through something in a past life, so wealth became easy for them in this life. Or they broke through something in this life, physically, spiritually, mentally, and it allowed this wealth to come down into their lives. And to summarize, for every man that's listening, our purpose in this world is to be channels of energy. And we should meditate on that before we enter into any circumstance. Complaining makes you a receiver, a taker. Being a victim makes you a taker. Blaming somebody else, you're no longer a channel of light. You're no longer a man. You actually lose the male status the moment you blame someone for anything. Move forward and fix the problem. Move forward and don't just fix the problem physically, fix it spiritually. Ask why spiritually the problem even exists. Don't complain. It doesn't matter why it happened or who did what. Ultimately, all you want to be is a channel. And when you realize that is your only purpose in life, then you will be shown your career, which is your purpose. You will be shown the perfect vessel. People say, well, how do I find my soulmate? Soulmate is a perfect vessel. So you have to be a perfect light to attract the perfect vessel. And then when you are in a relationship, every relationship does one thing. It allows you to find more ways to become a channel. And so this person will touch upon the areas that you are a taker. You can either learn from that, or you can push them away, which means you will never correct that part of yourself, which means that you will leave that up to other parts of the universe to correct. So we want to take full responsibility from this moment on. We want to just be a light everywhere we go. And we're all a work in progress, but we can also all inspire each other to be that and to spend time with people who want to do that.